JERD Nation Podcast.
Who's your wrestling guilty pleasure? Who's the guy? Tim, we'll let you talk about that. Who's the guy that just kind of you always enjoyed watching?
Sting is definitely a wrestler I really enjoyed watching because even before his Crow days, the bright neon painting of the '80s on his face and the Dolph Lundgren hairdo, whatever. I enjoyed watching him. I tell you what, man. I think it was '96 when he made his debut on Thunder, Goldberg. I enjoyed personally. Shut up. I enjoyed. I really enjoyed Goldberg, man. That's my daughter.
Christ,
That's my daughter. Get out of my room. I love you.
Power bomb.
Yeah, really. I enjoyed Goldberg because he was WCW's basically their version of Stone Cold, but more raunchier. Because honestly, in real life, Goldberg would just stomp Steve Austin in a mud hole. I mean, he just would. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's football. Well, he used to play pro football. It's not a fair contest.
I know.
Now, Brock Lesnar, on the other hand.
It doesn't help that Steve Austin started as stunning Steve Austin.
Stunning.
Yeah, stunning.
Hollywood
Yeah, man. But I loved watching Stone Cold though at the same time because nobody was better on the mic than him and The Rock. Other than, and here's a guy I would put up in the GOAT conversation if his career wasn't cut short. He had every single package you can think of, and that was CM Punk.
Oh,
I love CM Punk. CM Punk, when CM Punk left, that's a whole thing right there. I wouldn't consider him a guilty pleasure, but I stopped loving wrestling when CM Punk left. CM Punk had a famous promo where what he said with his pipe bomb, he said people started talking about wrestling again because all they ever talked about wrestling was when someone died. And then when he did the pipe bomb and was talking about how he was going to leave and take the belt to New Japan where he could be more appreciated, or Ring of Honor, like that was must-see wrestling every single week. And honestly, and that was not the most fun time to watch wrestling. You know, like there was a lot of bad stuff going on. The whole Little Jimmy shit that was going on. And
like the crazy thing about that whole promo was like you literally couldn't tell if he was blurring the lines or being for real. Like, then they cut the mic, and it was like, he probably shouldn't have said, like, 80% of the stuff he said.
Cody, who's your guy? The guy that your guilty pleasure.
And if we're all honest with ourselves and we're talking guilty pleasure wrestlers here, Goldust, bro. Like, we all like Goldust. I feel like all of us like Goldust.
He was so far outside the box. Like, I remember when he came, like when he started, like, he made you uncomfortable.
Yeah, I just remember Taker got so mad at him in one of the matches, bro. You could tell Taker just wanted to beat his ass.
Well, I mean, didn't he like grind up on the? Was he grinding on the Taker?
Like there was a promo that Taker did, and then Goldust came out because they were getting ready to have their match or whatever, and like you could just tell, like Undertaker already stoic, but you could like see it in his face, like. I want to punch this dude so bad.
And then there's another one my dad and I always joke about. He's not really a guilty pleasure, but like it's something my dad and I always joke about. So I figured I would bring it up. And Scotty Too Hotty. I always ask my dad who the GOAT is, and he's like Scotty Too Hotty.
Not the master of the word.
Val Venus.
Oh man.
No, my guilty pleasures. I always dig the big guys in the sports. I think there's something about a big guy in wrestling because, I kind of compare it to the ballet and, these guys are tremendous athletes. So for me, I always have to say Bam Bam Bigelow and Vader. Two guys that were, 350 on a light day and could moonsault and move around the ring, and their personalities were big and their longevity was big. So for me, like guys like that, I could even put, after watching all the Kamala wrestling that I've been watching here lately, I would actually put him in that category because he was such an athlete, like just an amazing athlete. So for me, the guilty pleasures really are those big guys.
Morgan has a wrestler she wants to list as the GOAT.
It's Roman
All
Reigns.
right, Goatus, Morgan. Goatus.
She's a little camera shy, but she said the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, is who.
That's why I put Morgan right there. AJ Styles.
Hey, you don't. Hey, franchise. You don't need to praise her. You need to praise me for educating her.
That's not acceptable. She needs to get on camera if that's going to go down as official.
I think AJ Styles is one of the 10 greatest wrestlers to walk this planet.
Don't forget, we talking guilty pleasures here. Let's not discuss former 24/7 champion Rob Gronkowski.
Oh God!
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We haven't got the main crashes yet, so hold on to that. Marky Mark, who is your guilty pleasure?
Okay, boys, I'm gonna flip the script on y'all. I'm gonna go across the pond.
You gonna shoot?
No, we're not gonna go across the pond. We're gonna go. Well, actually, we're gonna get on a plane and travel 15 hours from LAX to Tokyo, Japan, and we're gonna land in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're talking about Kazuchika Okada.
Oh, the Hurricane.
Okada. Tell me, he bell to bell, he is probably one of the best wrestlers on the planet that's not in the big time promotion. Well, in the U.S., I should say, a big time promotion in the U.S. He is undoubtedly the guy in New Japan. I mean, if you've ever got a chance to watch New Japan Wrestling, Okada hands down is phenomenal. It's crazy. He's crazy good.
I'm going to give Mark a golf clap for that one.
That was a good one.
That was a really good one. Courtney, who's your guilty pleasure?
Even though he's not a bad wrestler, he's just hilarious. I've met him before. He's just a hilarious dude. Where Rob Van Dam.
I met him when I was a kid, bro.
That guy.
Because you're the same size.
Rob Van Dam could get it done in the ring, man. He did some stuff like that stretch he does called the what's that stretch called?
Van Dammer?
No, the Van Terminator or something. I forget.
Van Terminator. Yeah.
The Van Dam stretch. That's literally a stretch that they use in the Olympics now. Like, that dude is supremely talented. Might be under. Like, he put out a promo a while ago saying like people like Kenny Omega and all of them people took his moves, and he's right because dude was doing all this amazing stuff when Doink the Clown was running around. Like
Doink.
Like, I don't think Rob Van Dam gets his credit as a pioneer as far as wrestling goes because that guy was doing, like, the stuff he would put his body, like the Rolling Thunder, and then he would do it, like, on ladders. Like, can you imagine sitting there cracking your spine on a ladder like that? Like, then the Van Terminator where he's on one top rope and you're on the other side of the ring and kick you in the face with the chair. Like, then the 5-star frog splash. Like that speaks for itself.
So, Sammy, you mind me kind of throwing, since we're still on the topic of wrestling, I know it might run the podcast over a little bit, but I figured that you might be up for it. So what would you all say? I'll list mine, and then you guys can add on. Who would you say is, like, someone that is, like, 100% a GOAT but is overlooked sometimes? Because for me, I would say Edge. Edge has done it all, man. He's won everything you can win. And that man was so good at making people hate him when so many kids, bro, there were kids that would cry at the stuff that he would do to John Cena and all that. And I remember, oh yeah. And his stuff with the Undertaker was phenomenal, man. Like, Edge is probably top 3 heel of all time.
I got to put Triple H up there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Triple H definitely is probably the best heel.
That would be my pick as far as, like, the people who I think could be a GOAT, but people don't give. I think Triple H. And I know a lot
Agree
of
with that.
oh, he married the boss's daughter and blase, blase, blase. But before he even got into the storyline with Stephanie, he was arguably wrestling's top heel. Like, he was already, Undertaker was kind of trending out because he was, like, burnt out for a minute, so he needed a break. So Triple H was actually going to be the top heel, if you will. With the, like, look at the list of stuff he done did in his career. He had sex with a mannequin in church. Like, he ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, this dude.
He was a bastard, bro.
Like, dude legit was a horrible person.
Was a horrible. Like, he was so easy to hate. You remember when he faked the black eye?
Yeah, he faked the whole snake bite and went out there.
Yeah, the snake bite thing with Austin.
Like, he came out there teaming up with Austin, and next thing you know, he hit him in the head with a lead pipe, and now you know, you dumb son of a bitch. And then the whole stuff with The Rock during 2000, and then he got caught up, and him and Kurt Angle got into it about Stephanie McMahon. Like, Triple H has really done some top-level heel stuff, and I don't think he gets his due because he married the boss's daughter. Like,
I would agree. What do you think, Sammy? Who would you pick?
Hands down, Mick Foley. His contributions to wrestling, the things that he was willing to do and did do that, I would have to kind of put Shane O'Mac in there too, just because he done some stuff that just nobody else would that they just wouldn't even dream about doing it. I'll never forget watching The Undertaker toss him off the Hell in the Cell, man, and like you knew he was fucked up. Like you knew.
And then he came back.
And then he comes back. And
he
it
got
was like
there twice.
He had teeth. He had teeth sticking through his freaking lips, and like
he said,
he has to be in that list. I would put him in the list, and honestly, somebody else that I would put in that part of the list would be Andre the Giant. And the reason I say that is because he was a gimmick that was marketed as a wrestler, and I think that set a trend of looking for freak athletes and guys of that sort, and how to integrate them into wrestling as a whole. Because if you go from Andre through Abdullah the Butcher, Kamala, and some of those bigger guys, a lot of them were really all about the gimmick, and I think that Andre really laid the groundwork for how to promote a gimmick.
I don't think people realize this, but Foley legit brought hardcore wrestling to WWE. Like, they weren't doing really much of that stuff until him and the Undertaker got into it.
Tim, who's your guy in that category, Tim?
You took my it was Mick Foley, because I don't know why he didn't come to mind before talk about the GOATs, because nobody else, like you said, would put their body on the line like he did for so long. Especially the matches. I think he used to have. Was he in ECW with Terry Funk?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It just it's unbelievable, and nobody will ever forget that Hell in the Cell match. That is the best match of all time. It's even better than slamming Andre. Come on, I mean it's. You're right. He threw him off that thing, and he was messed up, bud. He really was. So my hat's off to him.
Match that maybe top that is the Jimmy King Triple Cage DDP match.
I will wrong you.
No, man. Like, there's
Mark,
a Royal going on at the bottom, and those two are going up at the top.
Mark, who's your guy?
Honestly, he's just now getting started, and I think he will be very good. I mean, not really just now getting started. He's been around for a while, and I'm so glad they finally turned him heel. Roman Reigns.
Oh, brother.
Ooh.
Yeah. Where's that mute button?
Right now. So
all right, I want to. Let's talk about the real Paul Heyman advocate here. Let's talk about the real person that Paul Heyman manages. If we're talking underappreciated, no one gets shit on now more than Brock Lesnar.
True.
Now, but when Brock first came back, people loved
him because he came in and he destroyed Cena, and everyone was so tired of it. But that's the thing.
Then he came and destroyed Triple H, and then he ended up destroying Triple H again. And then
People-
He beat the Undertaker's streak.
now people hated when he beat the Undertaker.
The thing with Brock that people don't take under consideration as to why he is the way he is now, where he does limited appearances and multiple title reigns and gets paid all this money, is because of how Vince treated him. Because, like I said, I've been reading his book, and that's the thing, is that he's just asking for all this money now and wanting all the title reigns and stuff because Vince just milked him to death and like didn't really give him much in return. So I feel like that's why I don't hold it against him. I love Brock. I've always loved Brock, but I just think that people hold against him.
I don't think I like, look, when you're a work, like, Brock is a world attraction. Like, and
he's in his own category. Really, he is in his own.
Everybody talks about how Cena's like the guy, and he did that because Cena is in commercials and movies. He's on cereal boxes. Brock Lesnar's not doing none of that. Brock Lesnar's job is to go out there, whoop somebody's ass, get paid for it. I respect it. The whole point is to work for a short amount of time and get the most amount of money. So I don't knock Brock for, and being for his negotiations, because, I mean, let's be real here. He's worth it. Like,
people pay to see him.
People can say, "Oh, they don't like Brock Lesnar," but they line up those pockets by going to every one of those WrestleManias he's performing on, every one of those SummerSlams he made, every one of those events that he's there. Their ratings shoot through the roof because people want to see Brock Lesnar. They want to see what he's going to do. They want to see him kick somebody's ass. Like, I was at the Royal Rumble where he walked in as the champion and literally eliminated 15 people by himself, and people were cheering as he was doing this.
Well, one more guy that I put in that category, and then I think we'll move on, and I think everybody will agree. Booker T has to go in that category as well, because he not only was he super athletic, he reinvented himself and he succeeded through his reinventions. He athletically, like, top notch. He was always just a class act. Like, I feel like maybe he's one of those super unappreciated guys that, with a good argument could really make it into that GOAT talk.
I feel like I'm just glad he got his shot that one night, because, I mean, let's be real. Nobody ever really earned it outside of him. Like, right. he had been working for WWE for a year. He had to work as a tag team. He had to basically work as their TV champion and defend the belt like every week. Like, he did everything they asked him to do. He was GI Bro for a minute. His brother joined the NWO and he was kind of just playing the background. Like, I think that I was just glad to see him get his due, because I'm gonna be real with you. When I saw that, I was like, yo, we finna suffer through Jeff Jarrett being the world champion again. And what's that? But when I saw Booker finally reach the mountain, I was like, okay, I can live with this. Like, this is good, And then he gets to WWE, and I'm like, okay, I can live with this. And then, he goes on, he grinds, he gets a title shot at WrestleMania, loses to the greatest heel ever, Triple H. But like I said, now he's a 2-time Hall of Famer. Like, he's in on his own and as a tag team.
The JERD Nation Podcast.